What the hell do we go to war for?
Hey. Come on. Oh, the lovely girl.
Your great-grandfather. To his family, he's a quiet hero.
Yes, she is.
He's just a softie when you see him around the children. You know, just a sort of very ordinary man, and you just can't really comprehend what he did do, and must have been very, very brave.
In World War II, Johnny flew 50 missions as a bomb aimer over Nazi Germany.
I refer to myself as the murderer of the crew because I was the one that was dropping the bombs.
Johnny has never questioned his role in the war.
To a large degree, much of the bombing of Germany was a reprisal for what the Germans had done to many of our cities. It was just, if you like, tit for tat. I didn't feel any remorse about that at the time. And I have to confess that I still don't.
In March 1943, the greatest operation of Johnny's bombing career got underway. After 3 years of setbacks, the war was at last beginning to turn in the Allies' favour. Now the hunt was on for ways to shorten it. Johnny, then aged 21, and his bomber crew volunteered to join a new top-secret unit known only as Squadron X. Its base was Scampton in Lincolnshire, its mission a mystery.
There were several surprises when we got there. I suppose the first was to see so many people that had completed their first tour and possibly into their second tour, and there were so many ribbons all over the place. Everybody wondered what the hell everybody else was there for. What were we there for?
Leading the new squadron was Wing Commander Guy Gibson.
He was a little man. He was arrogant, yes. He was bombastic. At that stage, he was probably, if not the most, one of the most experienced bomber pilots in the command. And I think he had something to be arrogant about.
Johnny was struck by the intense secrecy at Scampton.
We were told letters were all censored, the phone box was monitored, and there was going to be strict security.
The real surprise was the planes the squadron were given to fly. Specially adapted Lancasters with no bomb doors and strange metal arms hanging down. They were unlike anything Johnny had ever seen.
Okay, it was basically a Lancaster, but a very different Lancaster. One of the questions was, would these bloody things fly? It just looked like an abortion of the Lancaster. That was what it really looked like.
617 Squadron, as it was now called, trained intensively for 6 weeks in its weird-looking planes at extreme low level.
And 100 feet was the prescribed height, but it was very often much lower than that. The ground is just buzzing past. Wonderful, it really was exhilarating.
On May the 15th, 1943, Johnny was at last told the secret of the strange Lancasters. Over the past few months, they'd been adapted to carry a special weapon, a bouncing bomb. Its inventor was the scientific genius Barnes Wallis.
First time I met Barnes Wallis was the night before the raid, when he showed us the film of how he developed this bouncing bomb that we were going to drop. It was quite interesting on one of them where it showed the bomb had been released, and instead of going straight ahead as it should have done, it veered off to the beach, and they were all scattering away from the beach to get out of its way before it hit them. The following day, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, tannoy message, all 617 Squadron aircrew to the operations room. The game was on then.
6 hours before takeoff, Johnny and his comrades were given their target, Germany's 3 great dams, the Möhne and Sorpe in the Ruhr Valley, and the Eder Dam nearby. They held the water that supplied Hitler's main arms factories.
There were these various routes out and back that were marked up on wall maps, and then it was explained that these were the big dams. If they were broken, they could paralyze their armament industry for the time being, certainly.
The Germans thought their dams were impregnable, but Wallace's spinning cylindrical bomb, dropped at 60 feet, was a brilliant piece of original thinking designed to bounce over the anti-torpedo nets that protected the dams. It would then settle against the face of the dam, roll down and explode, blowing a giant hole and releasing billions of gallons of water. At 9:25 p.m. on May the 16th, 1943, Johnny and his crew walked to their plane, checked their instruments, and prepared for takeoff. Their pilot, Joe McCarthy, fired up the engines, but one of them refused to start. It suddenly seemed they might lose their place in history.
So we had to whip out a bit sharpish into the reserve aircraft, and typical Joe's reaction, for Christ's sake, get into that other aircraft quick before some other bugger gets it and we don't get a chance to go.
Finally, Johnny took off in the reserve aircraft, well behind schedule.
We were consequently about 30 minutes late off. He opened the taps a little bit, so we went out a bit faster than was scheduled, so that we could try to make up a bit of time.
Flying at 100 feet above ground, the 19 Special Lancaster bombers swept through enemy territory, dodging treetops and ducking under German radar. Just after midnight, the first wave of 9 planes reached the Möhne Dam, which held 30 billion gallons of water. Guy Gibson opened the attack, launching the first bouncing bomb at precisely 60 feet. Then Gibson flew alongside the other attacking planes, guiding them by radio and drawing German fire. On the 5th attempt, the dam broke. A man-made tsunami hurtled down the Ruhr Valley. The attack on the second dam, the Eder, was also successful. Johnny Johnson, crouched in the bomb aimer's position in the nose of his aircraft, raced to the third dam, the Sorpe. His plane made 9 dummy runs before Johnny decided they'd reached the exact position to drop their bomb.
On the 10th, we actually made it. And so we went round eventually to have a look at what had happened, and we had in fact crumbled the top of the dam.
Of the group of 5 planes sent to attack the Sorpe Dam, Johnny's alone got through the German defenses. His one bomb damaged the dam, but it didn't breach it. As a result, the dam's raid was only a partial success, and it took a terrible toll. 8 out of the 19 planes were lost. Of the 133 men who set out, 53 died. But for war-weary Britain, it was electrifying.
I've got news. Bomber Command struck last night a heavy blow.
Churchill's propaganda machine presented the raid as a turning point in the Allies' struggle, and the Dambusters became overnight celebrities.
We saw it splattered all over the papers the next morning. And it was, God, did we do that? It proved to the German hierarchy that what they thought was impregnable, the Royal Air Force could get through and destroy. And I think perhaps the most important thing was the morale effect it had on the people of this country, because it was a change in the direction of the war. We were winning something, we had won something, the boost was there.
Johnny, now 86 years old, has always been proud to be part of the Dambusters legend. In recent years, some historians have debunked the dam's raid as a pointless sacrifice. Johnny has no time for their views.
I have a pet hate, and that is the retrospective historians. No, it wasn't worthwhile. It should never have been attempted. It was too expensive on life. It didn't do any damage at all. If I ever met one of those people, I would hope that my hands were tied behind my back, because I don't know quite what I'd do with them if they weren't. But I'd just ask them two questions. Were you there? Do you know what the conditions were at that time? And the answer to both those questions is no, so keep your bloody mouth shut. And I do get so angry about that sort of thing.
Johnny's equally proud of the plane at the heart of the Dambuster legend, the Avro Lancaster.
Listening, just listening to those 4 Merlin engines and those 4 props going round and round. This was the most reliable lady in the Bomber Command.
After the dam's raid, Johnny never again flew in his special Dambuster Lancaster, seen here in a declassified photograph. The plane he affectionately called T for Tommy.
We didn't see the aircraft again. We went back to the standard Lancaster. They'd done a wonderful job, which could not have been achieved with any other aircraft. And that, in itself, I think, made them, to us, unforgettable. I often wondered what had happened to those aircraft, to that one in particular.
RAF records show that T for Tommy was kept on with a new crew for further missions, including top-secret operations over occupied Europe. 7 months after the dam's raid, T for Tommy took off for France. It never returned. The crash sites of all the Dambuster Lancasters have been located, except Johnny's. In September 2007, Johnny heard that a group of aviation archaeologists was setting out to find his plane. He went to meet them at East Kirkby Air Museum in Lincolnshire.
I have no knowledge of what happened to any of the Dam's raid aircraft.
There are a few left at the end of the war which were sort of melted down for saucepans, but the only one we can't really account for and we can't pinpoint definitely is the one that you flew in. It was one that's particularly special because it had been used before the Dam's raid as a test aircraft.
Records suggest that the aircraft crashed in the Somme region of France.
If you do get to a stage where I think you have found it, I hope you'll let me know, because I would like to be there and see what bit of it there is left.
Well, if we manage it,
yes,
expect a telephone call.
Great.
The Somme region is a graveyard of RAF planes. Hundreds were shot down there in World War II. Initially, the chances of pinpointing Johnny's Lancaster seemed remote, but then came a breakthrough from a local eyewitness, Albert Roudinger. As a boy of 16, he lived near the railway station in Doullens, where the Germans had placed a mobile flak gun. He remembers it firing at a plane on the night of December the 10th, 1943.
Et puis, je suis sorti dans la cour et puis juste au moment où je passais.
I ran out into the area here and saw the gun firing at the aircraft. The plane was on fire in the sky and it crashed. I knew where it must have come down, so I went over there to have a look at it.
December the 10th was the night T for Tommy disappeared somewhere in the Doullens region. Albert Rodinger's story is the clue the aviation archaeologists need to start their search. In the area he's described, they find small surface fragments which indicate a plane once crashed here. But will what lies beneath provide the evidence that it is Johnny's?
So many tiny small readings that it's causing a lot of confusion. What we need to do is just to scrape away the first 6 inches, to scrape away the turf, and the team will go through scraping away, looking for these small pieces. But fortunately, the soil is very friable. It will fall apart and it will reveal the pieces.
Johnny has decided to travel to France to join the search for his old plane. It is the beginning of a journey that will profoundly affect him. His experience helps the team interpret the plane's final moments.
Walk slowly over towards the truck. Now, Johnny?
Do we know which way round it was?
Yes.
Which is the nose end?
Yes, we think we do know.
Yes.
We think we've deciphered from the small fragments that we found exactly what did happen. It looks like it flew down the valley, the Lancaster, then turned to starboard, just pancaked into the ground. How many seconds would it take him to travel down the valley, turn to starboard, and come in here?
My God, no.
Or perhaps...
It would be fairly short.
Perhaps 10, 15 seconds?
More or less, something like that, yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah. Yes, it would be a very quick trip.
The team are already finding personal items.
This, for instance, is a part of the earphone, as in would go in the flying helmet.
There's 2 shillings here. It's dated 1939.
39,
yes.
Right.
This one, this sixpence, is dated 1943, the date of the crash.
If the plane, as I understand, was on fire when it landed, it's surprising that it wasn't burned up.
There must have been a tremendous fire because for some of the aluminium has been burnt and has molten, turned into lumps.
Now you'll recognise this, I'm sure. Turn to unlock.
Yeah.
Press to release.
Yeah.
Yes. Parachute harness.
Yeah.
But that came out of the ground 3 inches down. You could read it as soon as it came out of the ground.
And there's more evidence that could possibly identify the plane. Bullets, mortars, and hand grenades.
It's a British grenade. Wouldn't be carried by the aircrew. It would indicate that it's certainly part of the stores that were being dropped that night to the forces over in France.
T for Tommy was on a secret mission dropping arms to French freedom fighters. So the local resistance veterans have laid on a ceremony at Doullens Town Hall to honour Johnny and mark the finding of his plane.
Thank you for inviting me to this wonderful occasion, this memorable occasion. For me, it's the climax of my service career, and it's also digging up of the particular aircraft in which I flew.
In World War II, these resistance veterans risked their lives to wait for RAF arms drops.
And it is those brave men and the resistance fighters here in France that will remember here today.
On that night in December 1943, the plane was piloted by a Canadian called Gordon Whedon. He and all his crew died. Now his nephew, also called Gordon Whedon, has flown over from Canada with his wife Mary.
This is the nephew of the Whedon whose aircraft crashed here.
Oh.
He is from Canada.
Yes. Oh, goodness
Hi,
me.
how do you do? Great to meet you too.
It's going to be quite a weekend, this, I think.
Yes.
Gordon has been searching for information on his hero uncle for 40 years, seeking closure for himself and the whole family.
I think proud is the main thing. Proud of him, proud of my uncle.
This was Gordon,
your uncle,
in the 825. And then again, some of the crew, Howell and Jones, Robinson.
Gordon Whedon's uncle and his crew are buried at a local cemetery.
Can I put this in front of yours, Gordon? They will grow not old, as we who are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. But the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
It's the crash site to see if the dig can tell him more about his uncle's last flight. The aviation archaeologists have found something really significant.
You're not going to get look at the holes in that.
And there's dramatic evidence of how the plane met its end.
That's something hitting it at fantastic speed and it pings out the metal and it rolls back on itself. So I reckon that is a whacking great flak hit.
Personifies the violence, like what force everything was, and how much damage was done on that little wee piece. The navigator, the pilot, the bomb aimer, whatever, would be about this far away from it.
I mean, that gives us the story, in a way, of it being hit over the town and coming in here.
But it's not the whole story. The German gunners were either very lucky or they must have known that the plane on its secret mission would be flying over Doullens that night. One of the resistance fighters waiting for the arms drop was Jean Tilloy.
Moi, je transportais les armes aux résistants.
My job was to transport the arms to the resistance cells. Rifles, revolvers, grenades.
Il y en avait partout des traites. Hein. C'est possible qu'il y ait un traître.
There were traitors everywhere. It is possible that a traitor warned the Germans about the arms drop that night, and they were waiting to shoot the plane down.
On tirait sur l'avion.
Well, there's a massive reading down here on the detector.
After a day which has produced small pieces of circumstantial evidence that this could be Johnny's plane, there's a tantalizing sign of something really significant.
There's got to be something down the bottom.
This could well be the bomb bay.
Do you think we can get this out tonight? I reckon we just got to give up.
But it's too dark to continue. The next morning, the large metal fragment is unearthed.
OK then, we'll work that one out.
Alex Bateman, the team's Lancaster expert, is baffled.
I mean, it doesn't look like. I don't think it's big enough. Well, I don't know. That curve looks like a curve on the bottom of the Lancaster. That's for sure.
T for Tommy was unique. It was one of the first prototypes of the special Dambuster Lancasters used to test potential modifications. As seen in this rare photograph, it had an improvised underbelly machine gun.
The underbelly gun was held in a hatch. You've got a guy sitting here, and you've got a machine gun through here on a ball mount, which you can move.
So how many lengths had underbelly guns though?
One, which is this one.
Only one?
Alex Bateman has brought copies of the original 1943 drawings of this one-off underbelly gun mount. If there's a match, it will be the conclusive proof that this is Johnny's plane.
And I think that's what we just found. We have the box, which is here. We have the ball mount, which is here. And we have the grab handle, which is here. So I think we found the undergun mounting.
And we've just found the only one of these that's ever going to be found.
Yeah. I'm confident you'll never get another one.
That's amazing.
The discovery of the underbelly gun mount is the final proof that this is T for Tommy. After 65 years, the mystery of its last flight is solved. There's one find that more than any other confronts Johnny with his past, a shattered piece of his old Lancaster's bomb aimer's window.
Good God, I used to be looking through this, pushing the bomb sight through that to see the target and lining up the aircraft with the bomb sight. And this was my window on the world at that stage, on my world. The last time that I looked through this was on the attack on the Sorp Dam.
That was when Johnny and his Lancaster T for Tommy took part in the most famous air raid in history, the Dambuster raid of 1943. Now, 65 years later, he's returned for the first time to the target he attacked, the Sorp Dam.
What a sight. It's the realization that so long ago I actually dropped a bomb in this particular spot. It really, really is emotional. It takes me right back.
In 1943, Langscheid, the village beside the Zorpa Dam had hardly been touched by the war. It had its own Dad's Army unit, which saw the war as a bit of a joke. To the village children, it was an excuse to dress up. Karl Bucher was 15.
We weren't frightened by the war. Nothing happened here. We weren't living in a big city, just a little village. Nothing went on. So why would anybody want to attack us?
But then, just after midnight on May the 17th, Johnny and his crew arrived in their Lancaster bomber. The Zorpa Dam, unlike the other two dams, had massive earth banks protecting its concrete core. Rather than bounce their bombs over its water, 5 Lancasters would have to fly along the face of the dam and each drop its bomb at precisely the same spot to blast it open.
We came in the first time, and it's bloody difficult coming down the side of the hill, down over the top. Now, we couldn't get it properly lined up, so I called dummy run.
We heard the plane's engines. Then we saw it getting nearer and nearer. It flew over the village, and then it turned and came back.
So we went round again, and we went round there and up to the church again and back down again. And we did that after about the 6th or 7th time. From the rear turret came this comment, "Oh, somebody got that bomb out of here?"
Some villagers, among them Fritz Wortmann, took cover in the worst possible place, a tunnel inside the dam.
I remember it vividly. I was 14 years old. We took cover down in the tunnel under the dam. We could hear the engines even down there. So the plane must have been flying really low, looking for its target.
Actually, we were down to about 30 feet at that stage. When I said bomb gone, thank Christ came from the rear turret just like that.
Suddenly, there was an almighty explosion.
There was a huge explosion, which blew the doors of the tunnel off.
I was up on the hill and felt the pressure wave and saw a huge column of water 100 meters high.
Down in the tunnel, the whole place shook. The children were all screaming.
Johnny's bomb scored a direct hit, but, as this recently discovered photograph shows, it only crumbled the top of the dam. It didn't breach it. If the Zorpa Dam had broken, it might have shortened the war.
It would have basically destroyed most of the German armament works down in the valley. It was the run would have gone straight down into the armament factories.
But the attack failed because none of the 4 other Lancasters targeted at the Zorpa got through. Johnny was shocked to find himself on a solo mission.
Nobody else was there when we got there, and it didn't look as though anybody had been. And nobody arrived whilst we were there, and we'd no idea why.
It was just unfortunate. The 5 of us didn't get through to it to start with. That would have made a tremendous difference.
The other 4 planes in Johnny's group didn't get near the Zorpa Dam. But a reserve Lancaster was also directed to the Zorpa and crashed on its approach. Johnny wants to find out what happened to it and other planes that went missing. It's the beginning of a new stage in his journey, which will bring him face to face as never before with the loss of his Dambuster comrades.
One of your colleagues, Bill Utley, he was shot down in this area.
Ah, yes.
Johnny and his grandson Richard's first stop is Ostbusch, Westphalia. This crater still marks the crash site of the reserve bomber that should have joined Johnny over the Zorpa. A German couple, Marianne and Gunther Bortelsmann, take Johnny to the memorial of the 6 crew who died here. As a boy, Gunther Bortelsmann lived in Berlin and witnessed the horrors of Allied bombing.
There was a heavy attack, and more than 400 people were killed. We fled into the cellars, and we got a direct hit on our house. We were buried in the rubble. Later they dug us out, and we all got out alive. All alive, thank God.
Yet Gunther doesn't blame the RAF.
No, it was Hitler we hated. Hitler was the cause of it all.
Among the crew killed here was Johnny's friend Warner Otley. He was 20 years old, the youngest pilot on the dam's raid.
This crew were supposed to be on the same dam that we were attacking. We had been laid off, so we were behind everybody else getting there. What we couldn't understand was why there was nobody there when we got there. And we just couldn't understand why. Poor old Otley was here, dead, killed, shot down here. I had no idea where he was. Now I know. Thank you very much, both of you. Thank you very much, Gunther. This, obviously, was the reason that he wasn't at the Zorpa when we got there.
When you got there, yeah.
That was basically it. He was one of the others that didn't make it. Bang, that was it. They were all gone. What a way to go. God.
For the last 15 years, Gunther and Marianne Bortelsmann have looked after this memorial to the British crew.
And these two people, really, they are so, so caring. Is a fantastic memorial.
Johnny's next stop is Emmerich, where in 1943 Hans Dorwald was a 16-year-old member of the Hitler Youth. On the night of the dam's raid, he was manning the town's anti-aircraft defences.
I was on a light flak gun. I saw the bomber approaching, and I opened fire immediately. And after about 2 rounds, it caught fire and came down.
Hans Dorwald shot down Johnny's colleague, Henry Maudsley. He won a medal that night, but he's not proud of it.
I realise who started the war. I know it was Hitler who started it. Today I just can't believe how we were all seduced by him. Sitting in front of you now, I can't believe you were once my enemy. I have no feelings of hatred for you or anything like it.
Johnny's search for a third lost plane takes him to the town of Resfeld. In the museum, Johnny's guide is a local historian, Richard Zuling.
All the information you see here are concerning the crew members.
On the night of the raid, one Dambuster bomber was flying at 100 feet above ground over Resfeld on its way to the dams. It hit an electricity pylon and burst into flames.
Engulfed by flames.
Shattering thought, in fact.
Richard takes Johnny and his grandson to the crash site. The Germans quickly repaired the pylon. It's still there today.
Can you see the high-tension pylon over there between the trees? That was the high-tension pylon.
That was the one he hit.
The short circuit, I think, set the fuel on fire. The crash site itself is only 20 meters behind this boulder, and we found many findings.
The crash was so violent that fragments of the plane were spread over hundreds of yards and can still be found today.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, no, that's more like pieces of the aircraft, isn't it?
Yes,
that's... Oh, yes, that's aluminium bits. Yes.
Blown apart in the fire.
Yes.
And that piece is actually molten. So that was melted in the fire. And those burnt bits.
On that night, Hubert Beckmann, then aged 14, was fast asleep in the farmhouse beside the pylon.
His father was shouting, get up from the bed.
Was you asking, was he frightened?
Has Angst had? Have you Angst had?
Ja, im Moment ja.
For a short moment when
Yes.
the Big Bang came. Yeah, next morning he had to go to school and then he saw the crater. He saw the 4 engines and the 7 dead. They were lying on the crash site itself. They were black, looking black and
Yes.
burned.
Yes.
And
Also living nearby were 2 teenage girls, Agnes Tuking and Hedwig Bersing.
The next morning, my sister came here to have a look. Afterwards, she said, I never want to go through that again, or see that again. The crew were all sat there crouching and burnt. The electricity from the high-tension pylon burnt them immediately.
Yes, they were all hunched over, burned.
So this would be one of the crew.
Somebody got thrown out of that, didn't they? I'm having difficulty tying in this sort of loss with the actual raid that we did.
All 7 crew died in the crash. One of those burnt bodies was Johnny's comrade, Flight Lieutenant Bill Astle. He was 23 years old and had already survived 2 crashes. This time, his luck ran out.
So this is the death trap. My God. Imagine hitting something like that. Get the weight of the Lancaster hitting against something like that. They were so low, they couldn't have got out anyway. They couldn't have bailed out. And they must have known. Just for those few seconds. My God, this is it. We've had it. And that must be a terrible, terrible feeling, I think. Ah, you bitch. To know that within so many seconds you're going to be dead, and there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing you can do about it at all. God, what a feeling that must be.
That night, Johnny reflects on his visit to the crash site.
This eyewitness saw these 7 bodies, 7 charred bodies, lined up at the edge of the field, waiting to be moved. Black, burnt to death. And it made me think of so many of my colleagues that had been shot down during that war, and what terrible deaths they may have had, they must have had. That crew must have known that as soon as they hit that pylon, there was nothing they could do about it. They were gone. What a way to die.
The final destination for Dambuster Johnny Johnson is the Myrna Dam. Today it's a popular holiday spot. In the early hours of May the 17th, 1943, it was a scene of devastation. The first wave of Dambuster bombers, led by Guy Gibson, succeeded in breaching the dam. On his way back to base, Johnny flew back over the Myrna and saw the devastation, which would have been the same at the Zorpa Dam if his group's attack there had succeeded.
From here onwards, you didn't see anything but water.
Yeah.
You could see through some of the water where houses had been.
You're in it to fight. If you become emotionally involved, you don't fight. That's what it really boils down to.
At the Myrna Museum, Johnny watches the German experience of the dam's raid.
The object of the attack was not to kill people, nor was it really to devastate the land round about.
Basically, it was to interrupt the German war effort.
Despite that, nearly 1,600 people drowned, among them 593 women slave labourers.
You wouldn't think that water could do so much damage, would you?
Karl-Heinz Wilmers, then 5 years old, lived in the shadow of the Mörner Dam.
This is search the peoples.
Ah, yes.
This houses is here.
Oh dear. Quite amazing, it really is. Yes.
This is a village 5 kilometers.
Yes. Devastated, isn't it?
Yes.
Absolutely devastated. It really is.
This is
We were suddenly woken up by the British planes coming over.
Deutschen Flakgeschütze, die hier auf dem
There were German flak guns positioned on the dam, and they opened fire. The British bombers were firing back. My grandmother shouted, "Now they've destroyed the dam."
We always thought the dam was unbreakable. Then the explosion came, and they shouted, "Get out! Run, everyone!" My mother always said about that night, you can run away from fire, but not from water.
We lived over there, on the north side, and a great wall of water destroyed this entire valley. Hardly any of the buildings survived that great flood. One of the few that did was that house there with the red roof. People had lost everything. There were 20 people here in the village who died. But down there in the valley, thousands of people drowned. A few days later, I went to the funeral of all the people who died in our village.
Johnny finds himself asking a question he'd always dismissed. Was the dam's raid worth the sacrifice, both of its aircrew and of its victims on the ground?
I don't know. Yes, it was wonderful at the time. But having, as I say, seen those pictures,
met the people,
and discussed it, it makes one realise that at the time, yes, it's all that's wonderful. But the result afterwards, looking at those pictures now, has made me feel quite guilty.
Yeah.
In fact, to think of the disaster that we caused to so many people who were not involved in the war anyway. And quite frankly, it does make one wonder, what the hell do we go to war for?
Johnny's come to the end of a remarkable journey. When it began, he'd never questioned the dam's raid. Now, 65 years on, he's confronted its full consequences and stands on the dam that he once tried to destroy.
Oh God. Oh dear. Now if that... What would have happened to all this land around here? He was going to cause so much damage. I'm glad it didn't work, because this would have not been here now, and God knows what would have happened to it. I'm glad it didn't happen. I have to be glad it didn't happen.
Johnny's last stop before he goes home is the Reichswald Forest Cemetery, the resting place of 27 of the 53 dambusters who died on the raid. More than 55,000 men of Bomber Command were killed in the Second World War. Like the Dambusters, every one a volunteer. Not as lucky as Johnny Johnson, but just as brave.
An airman of the 1939-45 war, Royal Air Force. Nobody knows who.
Prophesies war with